Hey everyone, Joe Fox here, President at Growave. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Retain, Grow, Thrive podcast. Today, I am joined by a good friend of mine that I've known for quite some time. I'm super excited to kind of jump in with Jeremy Gryder. He himself is the self-professed e-commerce redneck, and we'll hear a little bit more about how he got that nickname and what that means. And yeah, just super excited because Jeremy has a very, very vast and very strong experience in the e-commerce scene. He's been one of the early people at BigCommerce. He's been really on the cutting edge of a lot of things e-commerce. So today I'm welcomed by Jeremy. Jeremy, thanks for joining us.
Man, I am so excited to be on this podcast. One of my best meetings I've ever had, partnership meetings I've ever had, was with you, Joe. And I felt like we walked away from that friends. And, I
Absolutely,
love that.
absolutely. Yeah, no, definitely. And the feeling is very mutual. I've wanted to have you on since the early days of this podcast, so I'm glad we can make this happen today. So Jeremy, for the audience, obviously we've got a wide-ranging audience. We have a lot of people who work on the agency side of things in partnerships, tech partnerships, a lot of the people that we all know in this e-commerce community, but we have a lot of our, customers and the Growave merchants sort of tune in and watch the podcast as well. So, Jeremy, I'd love to know from you, how did the name e-commerce redneck come about? That's first of all. And second, tell us a little bit about your history and like as I said, you've been in e-com for a very long time. You're very experienced. So, tell us a little bit about that.
Well, the e-commerce redneck thing, honestly, was kind of a marketing thing I came up with. But it really is based on the fact that, I'm a fifth generation Texan. I come from a very good family, very diverse family in the sense of, even, Hispanics and others that are in, in the mix, so it's, that if you're a Texas family that's been here long enough, that's just how it is, And
Yeah,
so redneck for me didn't really have the connotation of anything bad. It makes me think of blue collar folks.
yeah,
I started out blue collar. I started out working construction, and I also
me
did
too. Me
valet and
too.
other jobs like that. But
Yeah.
I really appreciate blue collar folks. And up until I hurt my neck, I always thought that was an easy win. If I ever lost my job, I could always work a blue collar job if I had to. So, but yeah, so, to be honest, one of the coolest things about it is I was going through a really hard time, in my life after I left BigCommerce, which I'll talk about my career a little bit in a little while. I basically got in two wrecks within 3 weeks of each other in 2019. And I left BigCommerce in October of 2019. This happened in December, and began a journey of a medical journey that really kind of sidelined me almost for a while. And, I came out of that, recovered, I had a neck surgery. Thank God I had a bone spur growing into my spine. So I was just really depressed and in a bad mindset. And I was trying to figure out a way to put myself out there. And honestly, that's all this is a way to push myself, to put myself out there. But my favorite thing is when I go to events and show up with the e-commerce redneck shirt and
Yeah.
cowboy hat on, people
Yeah.
lose it. They love it. They laugh. And that's the reaction I want. I try to push kindness and love out in everything that I do. My background started basically, like I said, construction and all that, and through high school, but went to Bible college. And when I got out of Bible college, it was kind of the same time as if, a lot of things were happening with Catholic priests. I won't get into that, but it was hard to find a job if you were a single guy as a minister of any type, even in the
Yes.
Protestant
Yeah.
church. And I
Yeah.
ended up getting in sales with Danka Office Imaging, watched 7 people get thrown out the door in the first year I was there. And the second year I was there, me and 2 other guys helped that company a ton. And we're dealing with a lot of oil field public companies like Key Energy and such selling copiers to them. And the only people that beat us were in Manhattan, New York.
Wow.
So
Wow. I
yeah,
love
it was
that.
pretty cool.
I
It was
love
pretty
that.
cool. And
That's a cool journey. Very cool
I,
journey.
I also, through that journey, ended up at a company that was a long-term care pharmacy, grew that exponentially into the millions. And, what I found out in that was I could promote myself. I could market myself. And so I learned design. I learned how to build websites. I started doing newsletters and marketing and all sorts of tactics, and was very successful at that. And that's really what kind of led me into design, which a few years later would lead me to Musketball Group. I did do a little youth ministry in between there.
Nice.
But I went to Musketball Group. I don't even know what year, but like 17 years ago, 16 years ago. And I was the sales guy and designer. And I did that for 2 years, worked myself up to a creative director position. I ran our whole team for the agency, creative agency side of things. And then I ended up leaving, starting my own agency. And within a month, this new platform that I was going to use that I found out about, BigCommerce, had a hiring event. Well, I wanted to move to Austin. I felt like there was more opportunity there, and there was. And they hired me. And you should have seen that resume, Joe. It was
Yeah.
hilarious. I think I posted it. It was like, it said hire a genius at the bottom. I'm a little bit cocky, I guess.
I love that. And that's, it's such, there's a couple of really key call out points there. And I think, the spreading the love and joy, that's very apparent. You have a very, very larger than life personality. And, as you said, that meeting we had where we, went from partners to friends. I think you have this very infectious kind of energy, which is really unique and refreshing. And I love that. And obviously, that's carried you and steered you very well, throughout your sales career and building your profile and everything like that. But I love that kind of duality of being able to be creative and do sales, right? Because a lot of the
Hmm.
time, I think sometimes those things can be siloed, but having the ability to be able to do both is really impressive. And I can see that in your personality. So that's really cool. And I think to another point, I really love the fact that BigCommerce being an Australian company
Yeah.
originally, and then the Texas tie-in with Austin and everything like that. And you and I have discussed that. I think it's a really interesting kind of culture crossover between Australia and Texas. There's something
Oh,
that
it's
resonates
huge,
there.
dude.
Yeah, there's something that resonates there.
Well, I think it's partially because y'all have a lot of deadly things, and so do we, So
Yes. Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
it makes
We're
you live a certain way.
Yeah, yeah. You've got to be a certain way because you know that there could be a snake bite just around the corner coming to get you. So,
Right, right. You
yeah,
got to be a
yeah,
good person. Well,
yeah,
and one of the things that I'm really proud of about this state is that, a lot of people don't realize this, but there were three ports that people came through: New York, San Francisco, and Galveston. And this
okay,
beautiful state has been filled with the people of many countries and blessed with their cultures. We are a
absolutely,
mixture of our own thing, and most people don't get it, but we're Texans first, then we're Americans, and then we're
yeah.
citizens of the world.
Yeah, yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. I love it. And I think like that hospitality and that welcoming, component is just so apparent. And, you're a very shining example of that. You're an ambassador, you're a very good, strong ambassador for Texas. So I always
I'm
appreciate the warm
trying to
welcome.
be. Every
You
once in a
do it
while,
well.
my Californian friends don't like the redneck part of my name, but I don't mean any harm by it. It really is just trying to be a good representation of the type of people I come from, which are good country folk that, I mean, my great grandmother was half Native American, and,
Yeah.
so my blood runs deep, even more than the 5 generations, I'm sure, but I don't want to, jump the shark on that or anything. But, I I think it's important, and it's beautiful when people like you who are absolutely great for Texas and understand and get it and appreciate that person walking through the door and stopping and holding the door for you or your wife, as they walk
Yeah.
in the store. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. That's something that, in this country, I'm not going to get political, obviously, but in this country, we've got so much divisiveness. And I think the first thing that we can do towards being more unified and kind to one another is just show a little politeness. And that's what I see
Yes.
all over this state that I'm very proud of.
Absolutely. No, I couldn't agree more. And, coming from, another country, being Australia and moving here, I really sometimes don't think that everyone realizes how lucky they have it here. I think America is such a beautiful, multicultural, place, and that's such a strength. And I think I think everyone is a lot closer than they realize if they put aside their differences. I think at the end of the day, everyone is a lot more aligned, and a lot of us all want the same things out of life, right? And
Mhm.
that's to be happy and to be ourselves and to enjoy the freedoms of this country. So I agree
Well,
100%.
I'll say in Texas,
Yes,
generally, we're a live and let live state. Um,
yes,
and I love that about this state because we don't have to get in everybody's stuff. And I'm not saying necessarily, again, not getting political. I'm just saying personally how people treat people. I love that,
yes.
you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, we're lucky in the industry we're in where there is quite a good embracing, sort of community. Everyone's it's very multicultural,
Mhm.
multifaceted, multi-belief, but everyone really respects each other for who they are and the differences that they have. And I think we're very lucky. It's almost
I,
like the ecom community is an extension of Texas.
it is, and I'll tell you, the beautiful thing that the culture I grew up in was heavily Hispanic. There
Yep.
were some people of all different races, but primarily Hispanic. So I didn't have a lot of exposure. And funniest thing, I was employee number 40 or so in the States here for BigCommerce, maybe 70 worldwide, counting all the guys in Australia. And one of the guys, Patrick Yang, and man, I just think of this like, man, this really speaks to the culture we had for those 7.5
Yes.
years I was at BigCommerce.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
and Patrick, I said, so, and mind you, this is completely not knowing the language was wrong, but I go, so what kind of Oriental are you? And I didn't know the language was wrong. And he just
Yes.
looked at
Yep.
me and he smiled and he goes, well, I'm not a rug. And then he explained it to me, And so being
Yeah.
a guy that didn't understand certain things just because I wasn't in an
Yes.
Austin, like Austin is a melting pot. Like people come from
Yes.
all over the world and
Yep.
there's all kinds of food and international stuff. It is a great place to educate yourself on culture. And Big Commerce was a proponent of that. There was a lot of good people there, still is. And it was a great time. I had 9.5 position, or not 9.5, 9 positions in 7.5 years.
Wow. Wow. That's huge.
Yeah,
That's
well,
amazing. And can I ask on
especially
that
when I
then?
when I
Yeah,
had
sorry.
one of them for 4.5 years. So
Yes, yeah,
all the other ones were really quick.
that's awesome. Can I ask you, because that was such an inflection point in e-commerce, that run that you had within BigCommerce. And I really want to tie this into kind of the current state of e-commerce in general, where we're at today with everything that's happening in AI. And Shopify recently have released this agentic AI with ChatGPT and all of those sorts of things. But I'd love to get from your opinion, because of that, very long span you've had in e-commerce. What was the biggest change that you saw in e-commerce during your time at BigCommerce?
Well, the coolest change I got to be a part of, so I'm really excited about that. But it was we did a project called the Well Project, and that was
Okay.
to move. move up market. Well, Shopify hadn't moved up market with Shopify Plus yet. And mind you, I'm not saying I inspired them necessarily, but they would have had to have known it happened. But we moved up market with our largest clients. I called them for 6 months, got cussed out every day because we were saying, hey, you're paying us $30 or $300 was our highest plan. And we were going, you're going to pay us 3,000 or 10,000 or whatever, and they're like, no, we're not. And it's like usage, they knew it was coming. What the
Yeah.
funniest thing is, most of them said we knew this was coming, but we did that with an 88% accuracy. In between me and a gentleman named Victor Soros, we were able to effectively move BigCommerce up market. And I even have a quote from Brent Belm about that that I'm about to release. But great time. I will say the most influential person in my life during that time probably was Robert Alvarez, the CFO. I can't tell you how many times he talked me out of walking out the doors when I was frustrated. And he had a character trait that he pushed on people, and it was being ambitious. And that is to be both ambitious and humble. And that's so important, And I mean, honestly, I'm one of those people. I got a nose ring and a ton of tattoos. I don't care what people think of me. If you, yeah. And so, man, if you have a problem with me, good on you. Go ruin your own day. But I'll tell you, being ambitious is really important to me, because I personally think that these people that get too full of themselves are the first people to get taken out in e-commerce. Shopify is the clear winner as far as the general market, right? BigCommerce is really for open source type feel on SaaS. But I really think it's going to come down to Shopify and Shopware for the most part. Being two dynamically completely different things. And I say Shopware, I mean Shopware and Shopify Plus. I think if you can fit in Shopify's box and the appification of things works, not a bad thing, by the way. I know you have Growave, and it's an incredible app on Shopify. But Shopware is kind of the answer to Magento, but easier, and developers actually like it, and it's super secure. So I think that's one that's sneaking up. And I'll tell you, he showed me, kind of how things were going, and it was very almost flat, just barely going. And then at the end of the year, it just hockey sticked last year. So they're getting real brands.
I am seeing them pop up a lot, I must say. And I think, like, to your point around the Magento side of things, they've really evolved, from my understanding of Shopware, is they've really evolved the product to fit like feedback. Like, they really clearly take on product feedback. They really are addressing in the market what is important. And I think, that amazing event where you did all of the live, podcasts. Yeah, I loved that. Like, that was a really big turnout. I saw a lot of like people within our community that we share as mutual friends
Irish
and colleagues.
Titan.
Irish Titan, everyone
Blazer.
Was there.
Everyone
was there, and it's very interesting to see. And I think you're 100% right.
Well,
I think
that's the telltale sign. That's the telltale sign. You see agencies going, you should check this out. And there's some of the best agencies, like Above the Fray or Crimson Agility, all these really awesome specified Magento high-end guys are going, Shopware is the thing. You got to listen.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I know you and I could riff forever, and I know we're definitely going to do a part two on this. But I no. There's two more things.
We got to do the part two on Ecommerce Redneck in person.
Yes, absolutely. Well, that's what I want to dive into. I want to dive into the podcast, your podcast, where people can find that podcast. And then the next thing I just want to quickly dive into after that. So let's cover off on that. Tell me about the podcast. I know that I always see, to the point where we're just talking about Shoptoberfest, I really loved how you jumped in and did the live podcast with some of the people that we both, love and respect in this industry, like Darren Lynch over at Irish Titan. Tell
Mhm.
me more about the podcast. Like, where can people connect with the podcast? What's the ethos behind the podcast? And what are your plans for the podcast? Because, I mean, I feel you could really turn that into a live weekly show if you wanted to. It's that good.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And we have kind of a live show every other week, but we're about to transform that kind of as a landing spot because we're trying to build community within Witty, the Witty
Yeah,
E community, Witty, WITI.com. They have 36,000 tech professionals, and we're trying to build an e-commerce branch of it. So we
yeah,
need more guys like you to attend that and just be a part. But I'm doing more podcasts one off, and I'm going to be doing a ton in person with some big hitters in Austin and beyond. But the places that you can find me, just so you understand, I started this podcast for LinkedIn. It is not for
yeah,
YouTube. If you look at my
yeah,
YouTube, you will laugh. I have like
yeah.
77 subscribers. So go over to Ecommerce Redneck and, subscribe. But I have quite a few views on there still. But where I really get attention is LinkedIn. So I
Yeah.
am very business oriented, business focused. I am looking to grow it more on LinkedIn and business influence than anything. Now, I only have around 5,000 followers, but I'm connected to a ton of really high profile people that help me get exaggerated posts as far as like interactions and like really get a lot of influence and to prove that it's actually working. So if you're out there and want to be on a great podcast that has business influence, when you searched e-commerce and LinkedIn on Google in September, I was number 17. My
Wow.
personal, so please add me first on LinkedIn, Jeremy Gryder. I have the pink picture with me on it.
And
Uh,
I'll make sure that's in the show notes as well. So all of these
okay.
links you mentioned will be in the show notes.
And where you can really help me out is I'm pushing it a lot on YouTube too. And I would love to get, that monetized and growing so I can do more with this. So please go over there and subscribe. It's just the e-commerce redneck. In fact, if you look up e-commerce redneck, a lot of this stuff will come up. And honestly, Facebook starting to get a little bit
Yeah.
of a following on there.
Yeah.
It's funny on Facebook, just my personal post. It's hilarious. I got over 100,000 views on my personal
Wow.
post in
Wow. That's
3 months.
huge.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
Nice.
so
Yeah,
there,
it's
I'm getting momentum.
absolutely. And that's why I think it's important for the audience to be able to connect with you and see that, because I think the insights that come out of the podcast are very impactful. Um, okay,
Oh,
so next, oh, yep.
ecommerceredneck.com. You can find all of it too. Sorry.
Absolutely, and I'll make sure that's in the show notes. Jeremy, one last thing, or two last things actually. What are your predictions for what we're going to see in e-commerce next? We spoke earlier on the show about what we're seeing around all of this agentic AI is obviously, the big buzz around what's happening at the moment. What do you sort of foresee happening in the next 6 to 12 months with e-com?
Uh, Hold on one second. My
Yeah,
sorry, trying to turn my phone off.
no, you're right.
What here's the thing. AI is going 100 miles an hour. Moore's law is basically down to about 4 months now. If
Yeah,
you are not actively in some sort of AI with your platform and using the intelligence in a smart way, because there's over 1,900 AI apps on Shopify.
yes,
Not
yeah,
all of them are worth it, you know. So you got to figure out what's good for you as a vendor, but also, platforms and apps like yours that are, I would say right now you should focus on the intelligence around AI, both
yep,
as how you can do that as a store, which on Shopify and others, I believe you're going to be able to do that through selling on Chat GPT. I don't know if it was today or yesterday. Shopify announced as well that basically that you can have a mixed multi-cart with other Shopify stores,
Yes,
which,
yesterday. Yes, yeah, yeah. That's exciting.
and
That's
they're
exciting.
about to, they've always had a limitation on options of 100, and they're about to get that completely blown out of the water to where it's like a ridiculous amount. So I'm really excited. I think Shopify is ahead on most of it, and they're going to stay ahead in the for the majority. But I think too, the ones that are moving quick with AI and adapting and building reliable AI, that's important. Those guys, they're the you know, it's going to be a battle royale, but
Yes,
pick
yeah,
your side with these guys, because you need to be using AI. Like I heard one the
yeah.
other day. I can't remember the name, or I'd plug it. But I heard about one the other day that was a abandoned cart with AI. It figures out the
Yes,
messaging for that specific. I'm like, abandoned cart, you can save like 15% of carts out there if you do it right, or more, you know.
absolutely, absolutely. I think we're living in a world, or we're in a not so distant future world where the conversion rate is going to be so much higher because everything is going to be so much more tailored and specific to that individual customer, so much more targeted, all utilizing AI to do so. So yeah, it's crazy. I'll have to check out, I'll have to get the link for the abandoned cart one from you. That sounds interesting. I didn't even know that that was out. So I'll check that out for sure.
Yeah, man. There's a lot of cool stuff coming. And yeah, that 4 month thing, that's a real thing. Keep an eye on that if you're in business. I'm seeing a lot of really effective tools out there though, and so I'm excited. Things from personalization to more functional things, upsell. Really great customer support. There's all sorts of stuff out there.
Yeah, it's all happening. Well, when we do our part two, which we'll have to do, within the next 12 months, it'll be interesting because we'll be able to talk about some of these points. So,
Yeah.
okay. So lastly, Jeremy, on this one, I like asking everyone this because, I know recently you did a amazing road trip, with your son, you did the Field of Dreams, all
Yeah.
of that sort of cool stuff. So I like to ask everyone this because in e-commerce, in our industry, there's so many great things. And I think one of the great things is that we all travel a lot. And a perfect example, we've spoken about Shoptoberfest and everything earlier, but I like to ask every guest what it is that they can't travel without. And you can't say a person, but what is the one thing that you find that you can't, hit the road without from a travel perspective?
Let's not go to phone.
Yeah.
But man,
Yeah.
I mean, that's a hard one. Probably my computer, though,
Yeah. Yeah.
but not even just for like staying in touch with business, to be able to jump on and figure stuff out on the way and at night and stuff. I like to at least have it, even if I never get it out.
Yes. Yeah. I'm
I
very much
try
the
not to
same.
get it out.
Yeah. I do too. I feel like a big thing I'm trying to do more and more at events is really like, and I feel like I've always done it, but it's like getting that one-on-one time and realizing that sometimes the instant communication world we live in, that can wait. Let's do the instant in-person communication and really soak that in while we're here. So I like that one. Um Jeremy, really, really, really great to have you as a friend. Great to have you as a partner. Thank you so much for coming on today. I've been really excited to do this one. And as I said, you and I could riff for hours, so we will definitely be doing a part two. And I look forward to coming on to the e-commerce redneck podcast. Super excited for that. Feel like
we
we
can
only
we can do
just
it
scratched the
remote in the
surface.
hill country too. We
Let's
should do
do
it
it.
that way.
Let's do it. I'd love to. I'd absolutely love to. And we can always catch up over a coffee. But look, my friend, thank you so much for coming on today. Audience, I'll make sure every single link that Jeremy mentioned is included in the show notes. please, please, please go connect with Jeremy. I encourage you to. His podcast is phenomenal. The insights that come out of that are amazing, and his content is second to none. So check him out, connect with him on LinkedIn. Very, very approachable, as you've seen today. So feel free to reach out to him and say hello and mention that you saw him on the Retain, Grow, Thrive podcast. But Jeremy, thank you so much for coming on board, my friend. And you enjoy the rest of the day, the rest of the week, and look forward to catching up with you again soon.
Absolutely. It was great, Joe. Thank you for having me on. And don't forget, go to ecommerceredneck.com.
Thank you, Jeremy. Chat to you soon. Audience,
All
thank you
right.
so much for tuning in to another episode of Retain, Grow, Thrive, the Growave podcast. I'm your host and president at Growave, Joe Fox. And please, as I mentioned, make sure you check out the links in the show notes so you can connect with Jeremy wherever you feel. But I think LinkedIn is a very, very great place to connect with him initially. Thank you, audience, and I'll see you again soon.